I stand here as a Labour MP to once again speak up for and focus on advancing the interests of our older workers. First off, I must observe and say that our older workers have made much progress in terms of their employment, in terms of their wage and their employability over the decades. How come? It's due to the enlightened policies of the PAP government and the hard work of the tripartite partners. The employment rate of older workers aged 55 to 64 has risen from 66.3% in 2014 to 70.4% last year. Wages for workers aged 50 and above have also risen faster than median income. Training participation rates for those aged 50 to 64 in the resident workforce have also increased from 27.1% in 2014 to 33.5% in 2024. The percentage of active CPF members who turned age 55 and who have been able to save up to their cohort basic retirement sum has increased from 6 in 10 in 2016 to about 7 in 10 in 2022, and MOM projects it to reach 8 in 10 by 2027. The labour movement is certainly heartened that our work advocating for improvements for the sake of our older workers, together with the support and partnership of our tripartite partners, have borne fruit systematically to improve older workers' livelihoods. Older workers have even more improvements to look forward to. To boost the retirement adequacy of both current and future cohorts of senior workers, NTUC has advocated for increases in CPF contribution rates for our senior workers. I thank the government for raising the CPF contribution rates for senior workers again in 2026 and extending the CPF transition offset towards companies in order to facilitate this improvement. I look forward to the scheduled increases up to 2030 in line with the recommendations of the tripartite work group on older workers. These increases will allow the contribution rates of those aged above 55 up to 60 to match those of younger workers. The government has also supported the tripartite consensus and announced the next statutory increase in the retirement and re-employment ages to 64 and 69 respectively, to take place from the 1st of July 2026. On our part, the NTUC and our enterprises have moved ahead and raised our retirement and re-employment ages from 1st of January this year. The Public Service has also announced that it will raise its retirement and re-employment ages from 1st July this year, which is a year ahead of the national timeline. Additionally, the new Match MediSave scheme will help eligible older workers increase their MediSave balances and better cater for their healthcare needs. The extension of the senior employment credit to end 2026 is also welcome. This will help businesses defray part of the hiring costs for older workers, and this should make older workers more attractive to hire. Just in January this year, Parliament passed the Workplace Fairness Bill into law. This act is an important step in our fight against ageism and all forms of discrimination in the workplace. Unions will work proactively and sensibly with companies to foster age neutrality and fairness in the treatment of older workers in our workplaces. We have indeed achieved much. But how do we ensure that we can hold on to our gains and build positively on them as we move into the future? This is not a trivial remark, because we must not underestimate the immensity of the challenge. As many colleagues have already said so in their speeches, the world is entering into a very difficult and turbulent geopolitical and geoeconomic era. What we are seeing now is a world where win-win mindsets wane, and instead we see law of the jungle and beggar thy neighbor instincts rise and be on the ascendant. So in such a climate, safeguarding our gains and achieving further good progress is not going to be easy, and it requires sustained, strong mutual understanding of the joint interests and ever closer collaboration on the part of tripartite partners to look for bold and innovative pathways forward. I cannot overemphasize this because if you look back, progress has not been easy. But compared to the path ahead, I think the path that we have trodden so far is still relatively more stable. The road ahead is not going to be like that. I expect it to be a lot more bumpy. While the employment and labor force participation rates for our older workers have reached new highs in recent years and even bucked the trend in the rest of the world, it is not without its challenges. Through NTUC's extensive engagements with PMEs through the work of our PME task force, many older PMEs have shared that they have faced significant hurdles in getting back into work after midlife job loss. Many also indicated that new jobs often entail substantial downward adjustment of the pay and the job nature. This points to the need for more concerted efforts to help middle-aged job seekers adjust and transit so as to benefit from their continued contributions while managing the negativities. NTUC understands these challenges that our older workers are facing, our older PMEs are facing. An initiative such as the Skills Future Job Seekers Support Scheme stems from our work with our tripartite partners to innovate practical help, and we thank the government for introducing the scheme. Examples of this close collaboration, looking forward, analyzing what are the real challenges faced by our workers, our older workers, and finding win-win ways, practical pathways, practical arrangements, sustainable, and implementing them in good time is our hallmark. And this must continue to describe our joint approach going forward. Earlier, I said that I expect the road ahead to be more bumpy. This is firstly because the lower hanging fruit that policy levers can achieve have been well harvested over the past years. More importantly, we must expect the international business environment, likely one where there will be a pronounced increase in nativist and protectionist behavior by countries big and small, to put pressure on our businesses' cost and market access. As a result, there will be knock-on effects for both enterprises and their workforces. The inherent vulnerability of older workers is therefore likely to be put under more pressure. In this regard, our tripartite partners must carefully monitor the external environment and its impact on our economy and the labor market, and at the same time plan ahead to move swiftly to seize opportunities and be able to protect our joint gains and not let them slip away. In this regard, it is opportune that the government is convening a tripartite work group on senior employment to frankly and cohesively take stock of these ongoing headwinds and forge new consensus and effective ways of maximizing value for both businesses and our older workers. I fully support such a forward-looking approach. We really need this, and we have to come together and look at the picture together and find that way forward together. Next, I want to speak about the importance of training in the face of such uncertainty. Against this backdrop of heightened uncertainty and economic challenge, it is important that we keep our focus on strengthening our fundamentals. This remains our best bet to tackle all scenarios. For older workers and their companies, one such fundamental must be the workforce competency. This relates directly to a company's competitiveness and resilience and an older worker's employability and work prospects. The NTUC Survey on Economic Sentiments 2025 found that workers' career confidence decreases as they get older. 66% of younger workers, defined as those below 35 years old, said that there would be sufficient good jobs in the market for them. When older workers, those 55 years old and above, are asked, 43% had that confidence. Earlier findings from NTUC's Every Worker Matters conversations also found that a significant proportion of older workers are worried that they would not be given equitable consideration and access to skills upgrading and training opportunities compared to younger peers. If you're talking about these concerns in a stable environment, it is one thing. It is a challenge. But if you're talking about these concerns in such a time of volatility, then I think we have to be even bolder. And I believe that it is a great opportunity, in fact, for Singapore Inc. to once again rise to the occasion and upskill our workforce, older workers included, to uplift our competitiveness, to enhance our enterprise resilience, to improve our career adaptability, and to forge ahead of other economies. We've done that before. Every time we had a crisis, we upturned the downturn. We not only make lemonade out of lemons, but we turn challenges into opportunity. And we must do so, because if we don't, and others do, then both our companies and workers will pay dearly for it. NTUC stands ready to work hard and work hand in hand with businesses and the government to move in these areas. On company-level business road mapping and workforce training, NTUC's company training committees continue to scale, to broaden, and to deepen their effectiveness within the companies and the sectors to benefit workers of all levels and wages. And here, I join my fellow Labour MPs in thanking government for the 250 million further injection in support of the CTCs. The NTUC is also reimagining our Job Security Council to achieve faster, wider, and better outcomes in industry manpower, skills, job design, and matched outcomes, in close liaison with government and industry. Beyond safeguarding the interests of older workers currently in the workforce, the tripartite partners must also press on with innovative thinking on how to further activate, mobilize, and enable more Singaporeans to rejoin and participate in our economy. Getting more Singaporeans to participate in our economy is important to businesses, certainly very important to our returning workers, and very important to our overall national resilience. In a speech I made at the budget debate back in 2019, I specifically pointed to the potential benefit of enabling a considerable number of middle-aged caregivers to remain in work or to return to work for the purposes of increasing the participation of Singaporeans within our workforce and economy. At the time, I had pointed out that for that to happen, it certainly takes a host of adjustments in companies, workers, and government policy. And this range from flexible work arrangements to job redesign to self-employment on the part of the labor market and what employers and businesses can do. Because you make your jobs more flexible, then it is not a 0-1, either a full-time job or there isn't a job. There are different combinations in which a person can continue to have the opportunity to stay at work while catering to care responsibilities, for example. But for those who have already left, because whatever the reason, including where the companies do not yet offer those flexible arrangements, to come back is a different proposition because they have to care for someone at home. And therefore, for them, it is not only whether there are potential employers with flexible work arrangements ready to receive them back. It is also that they need a system that that creates affordable, accessible, and sustainable senior care of various types, so that they, as caregivers, have truly viable alternatives. to provide that care to their loved ones, and then they can come back. And that pairing up with the availability of flexible work arrangements on the company side, that will make things happen. And I believe that since then, and with the more recent advent of initiatives such as MOH's Healthier SG, Age Well SG, and various relevant initiatives on the part of mum, I think this is a time for us to really relook how can we look at integrating the solutions both on the manpower or the labor market side, as well as on the social and health side, as a continuum in order to enable this return to work to happen for middle-aged caregivers in a substantial way. I think we are more ready than before. Mr. Speaker, we have shown care for our older workers as a government, as tripartite partners, not only in words, but in deeds. As a result, we have made very substantial progress for our older workers, often bucking global trends. The environment we must deal with will be increasingly challenging. We must come together even more to seize opportunities, overcome constraints, and to forge ahead for the sake of our older workers, for the sake of Singapore. Forward Singapore. Mr. Speaker, I support the budget.